Hey there guys, Buttstool here. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about gas masks, but more specifically, gas mask communication devices. Now, it's no secret that wearing a gas mask can heavily obscure and obstruct the wearer's voice, which is something that this device right here was meant to solve. This is the subject of today's video, the Acme Speak-Ezee by the Acme Protection Equipment Company. Now, a little background on Acme. Acme was an American safety equipment manufacturer which operated from 1937 until the mid to late 1960s. Now, we don't know an exact date when the Acme Equipment Company shut down because they were bought by Scott Aviation Corp. In 1963 and slowly dissolved. Prior to its dissolution, Acme was a company well known for innovative and unique designs, typified here by their Acme Full Vision No. 6 mask. Now, their Full Vision line of masks was definitely their flagship product. They were the best-selling mask Acme produced. They're typified by these large insectoid eye lenses, which offered the wearer, well, full vision. While very interesting on their own, the Acme Full Vision line of masks is not the subject of this video, so let's get to the Speak-Ezee. Now, the Speak-Ezee came about in the early 1960s after Acme was approached by the United States Atomic Energy Commission, who asked Acme for a compact, self-contained voice amplifier to allow easier communication for nuclear facility workers. At the time, Acme was not an electronics manufacturer and had no experience with this sort of product, so they reached out to a man named David Lewis, who had extensive experience designing communication devices for scuba diving. Acme presented Lewis with the specifications provided to them by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, and Lewis presented Acme with this. This right here is the prototype that Lewis submitted to Acme. And Acme, as well as the Atomic Energy Commission, liked it so much that they pretty much immediately put it into production with very few changes. This is a production example molded in safety orange as opposed to the clear plastic, with a few other subtle changes, but it is essentially the same device. Looking at the underside of Lewis's prototype, we can more clearly see the clear plastic that makes up the construction. Now, the reason for the clear plastic is, during the prototyping stage, it allows the developers to see any faults that might develop without fully disassembling the mask. Now, obviously, the plastic has yellowed significantly over time, but you can see some of the components inside. Now, Acme actually liked the design so much that they hired Lewis and put him in charge of the new Acme Electronics division, and it was his job to oversee production of the Speak-Ezees. Acme was right to see the potential in this design, and other companies quickly saw it too. Mine Safety Appliances very quickly reached out to Acme and asked them if they would produce the Acme Speak-Ezee for their Clearview masks. Mine Safety Appliances was quickly followed by other companies such as Globe Safety and Scott Aviation, who would end up eventually buying Acme. Because of the demand for these devices, Acme very quickly became the leading manufacturer of gas mask communication devices. Looking at this Mine Safety Appliances example, you can see it's virtually identical to the Acme version, with the notable difference of being obviously MSA branded, the green plastic, and being molded for the Clearview rather than the Acme Full Vision No. 6. Here's a view of the front of the devices. You can see some other slight differences, such as a translucent plastic being used on the Mine Safety Appliances as opposed to the white plastic on the Acme. And then, again, the lack of Acme branding on the MSA example. Acme would continue manufacturing and developing these into their 1963 Scott buyout, although after the buyout, the mask-mounted versions started to get phased out in favor of these later clip-on versions. Now, these later clip-on Speak-Ezees were more compact and no longer mounted to the mask itself. These were intended to be clipped onto the user's clothing and connected to the mask through a long cable. The clip-on Speak-Ezees would be some of the last products manufactured under the Acme name. As you can see, this one is branded as Scott and Acme, and this one, being a later example, is just branded as Scott. This was not the end of the story, though. As you can see here, this is a Scott-designed Speak-Ezee known as the Speak-Ezee 2. Yes, even after Acme was fully dissolved by Scott, they were still developing and producing the Speak-Ezee product line, although it was eventually phased out. To wrap up this video, I'm just going to briefly go over the functions of the Acme Speak-Ezee for you. So on this side of the mask is the battery compartment. The Acme Speak-Ezee ran on 3 batteries, which were, as you can see, very easily changed out by the user. And then on this side of the mask was the speaker itself with a volume knob directly below. These inputs just above the volume knob allowed the Speak-Ezee to be wired to other Speak-Ezees in the area, allowing for mask-to-mask communication. The whole device was held onto the mask by this spring you see here, and the input for the microphone is right here. To mount this microphone, an appropriate sized hole would be drilled in the front of the mask, allowing for this female connector to be fitted through. And then inside the mask, we can see the microphone itself, which would obviously pick up the user's voice. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say for now. This has been a basic historical and technical rundown of the Acme Speak-Ezee. I'm Botstow with CBRN Gear. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you next time.